Hello, this is Paula Thomas for Thomas & Fees Accountancy Corporation. Our guest today is Michal O'Brien, co-founder of Crawford and O'Brien, a digital marketing agency. Besides being 2 years ahead of competitors and offering services most dentists and marketers have never heard of, like SBO, Crawford and O'Brien is known most for doing amazing SEO, search engine optimization, and PPC, pay-per-click, campaigns, as well as other digital marketing services like web development, conversion optimization, lead generation, and consulting for dentists. Welcome, Michal. Thank you for joining us today by Skype from your headquarters in Tempe, Arizona.
Thanks for having me, Paula. I appreciate it.
I was recently talking with one of our dental clients, and she told me that she and her partner had been very disappointed that their new website, which is really awesome looking and impressive, was getting very little action on the internet. When she questioned the designer, he basically said, give it more time. But it's been months, over 6, I believe, and it hasn't paid off. So when I got back to the office, I went to the computer to see what I could find and learn about the problem she was having. And lo and behold, I found Crawford and O'Brien. And what interested me most about your website was that your company actually claimed to have a 100% success rate in increased rankings, traffic, and leads for every single client you worked with. Is what our client experiencing typical? And why isn't she getting a boatload of new business from that fabulous new website?
That's an important question, and it's a very common one indeed. There's a great distinction between an amazing aesthetic website and actually driving traffic that's online prospective patients searching for dental care. There's a huge divide there. So you can have an amazing site that's just beautiful, that you spend a large amount of money on. It took a lot of time to develop. And there's a drastic difference from that to actually correlating to people finding your website, having it positioned all over the internet so that people searching for a dentist in your city will actually find you and book an appointment, call in, and actually sit in your chair. Is you see the beautiful website and that's right in front of you, and you don't really understand a lot about the traffic or your positioning, pay-per-click, and all these other specialized things that actually bring people in, which is what I feel what matters at the end of the day, an investment that has an ROI, not just having a site and then no leads come in, no patients. In my understanding, that's a net loss, unfortunately. So it's about getting the traffic, getting positioned so your practice actually gets these people that are actively searching for dental care.
There are distinct reasons why a website is performing poorly and failing to drive patients into the practice, and you can determine that by analyzing the website. I saw on your website that you offer a free analysis of an existing website. I want to hear about that. But also, I want to know, can you fix an existing website? Can it be updated to attract more patients? Or does it have to be totally scratched? Tell me you can fix it.
I guess an analogy would be sort of like physical equipment. It almost costs more to repair a laptop sometimes than to buy a cheap new one. If a site isn't mobile optimized or has duplicate content or a number of factors that actually hurt it versus assist it and search engine optimization, it might actually be wiser, cheaper, and more effective in the short and long run to just redo the website versus maintain a more of a crippled site, if you will, one that has factors that are negating it in search engines, which no matter how much off-page you do and other things, it'll still be not highly optimized and getting the results you need so that you rank high on Google and the other search engines to get these new patients that are actively searching to actually have you positioned to where they find you and stumble upon you.
What do you do exactly when you say you analyze a website?
So we take it in really two fields. We go on-page and off-page. We have a plethora of tools we use to analyze the on-page. We look at the code base, we look at the copywriting, we look at how responsive or not is on all devices, from smartphone to tablet to desktop. We look at everything, and based off of what we find empirically to be how you rank on Google, we assess if you compare and contrast from those factors, how well you do on that. So that's how we decide on the on page. And a few of those key points I would mention that you can check yourself as a dentist is going to Copyscape, a website, to actually check if you have duplicate content. That's one way, and also if it's mobile optimized. In fact, upcoming here in April, Google has already announced they'll be changing how they rank, that if you're not mobile, you will be hurt. I believe it's April 22nd. So you'll actually be negated for not having a mobile site. So if you have an archaic site and it's over a few years old and it doesn't reform or go to mobile on the smartphone or tablet sizes, you'll actually be hurting yourself.
You mentioned that about being duplicate information. Are you saying that the copy, the verbiage that's on there is duplicated in multiple places? Is that what you mean?
Exactly. Unfortunately, when some sites are built by various vendors, they might reuse copywriting between clients, or they're using templated sort of websites, and they actually reuse the copywriting or the content. And by doing that, it's seen as spammy within Google's eyes. And by doing that, it actually hurts you, lowers your rankings in the search engines. So it's a big no-no, and it's an obvious no-no. So you need to make sure it's 100% unique, written from scratch. Nowhere else does it exist online.
This isn't just some template they took and said, okay, dentist, here's the dentist information, put it over here because you're a dentist.
Exactly. And not just ranking, you want that for conversion because you want it to be relevant and directly involving you and your practice in your area, and your own brand and voice should be in that content. So for other reasons than just ranking, it's definitely a go-to strategy to have unique copywriting. Now for the off page, which is the other portion, this is definitely more technical factors here. So we look at backlinks, which is a big one. This is simply sites that have a link to your website. That's all that really means. Backlinks is just a term for that. So someone's linking to you. Now, the ratio of the text within that backlink, it's called anchor text, and there has to be a set ratio to help you rank on search engines of that anchor text, as well as the number of backlinks and the quality of backlinks. Basically, what you can take from all this, though, in layman's terms, is you can check, and if you have low to zero backlinks, your SEO has a high probability that you're not ranking high. That's what that would mean in simplistic terms. And so we actually perform this, and we can find deep linking links because we have tons of software that is specific to doing just this. In doing so, you can actually tell really quickly. We also have tools that show your rankings for an array of keywords at will that's constantly scanning the internet. So we can see the most common would be dentist in your city. So an example would be if you're in Los Angeles, dentist in LA or dentist in Los Angeles is probably your most searched keyword for prospective patients looking for a dental practice in their area, which is LA. We would actually look at that and we can show what you rank for that, as well as all of the other keywords that would be targeted traffic. And so an example of that would be not just dentist in LA, but it might be dentist in LA implants, or implant dentist in LA, or dentist in LA Invisalign specialist, or these long tail keywords are what these are called. And by basically getting all of these on your SEO, which is what we do, you optimize for all of these different keywords. It's sort of an exponential campaign because you're not just ranking for that one keyword like so many agencies might do, where they go after the most competitive and the most generalized traffic and prospects. You're actually going for these specific. And what we found is these specific keywords actually convert higher, and they're typically the more high dollar patient because they're actually someone looking specifically for a surgical procedure. So we do all of that, and we actually help cater that on each campaign, which is what you should look for, someone who caters it for what services you actually do versus just running a generic dental SEO campaign. And it might even rank for services you don't care about or provide. That we can really tell how you're doing at a pretty quick glance. And we do that manually. That's not a script. We go and have a researcher on our team vet that from scratch and see where you're standing.
This is very involved, and that's why you really have to have a professional do this, because there is a lot to it. This is like It's like Greek. I mean, it's really a unique language. And as you were talking about that, I talked to my dentist just yesterday, and she was mentioning that on her website, she did get someone who called in. What triggered their call was that they own a very expensive and very unique piece of equipment that is used in cutting bone. And very few dentists have it because this is very specialized work that they do. So the fact that that was mentioned, that's one of those key things like you're just talking about, that actually triggered a call for a potentially very big case. Obviously, even though our dentists are extremely intelligent, they aren't savvy to all the ins and outs of website design and function. So to help educate our audience, I want to ask what are the most common mistakes that dentists make when setting up a website?
The website is just step one. So with the website, not buying a mobile and responsive, like I previously said, is a big deal. You really want to make sure that happens because it helps in all aspects. 50% of all traffic to your site today will be mobile of some sort. So it'll be on a phone or a tablet of some kind. It's already that high of mobile users versus desktop. And so to not have a mobile site is simply rejecting half of all of the visitors that will ever go to your website. Not be a templated site is another thing to look for. Make sure it's custom. Typically, that falls in line with the copywriting I mentioned earlier. It needs to be custom because if it's templated, typically it'll run into templated content, duplicate content. Another common mistake dentists make when ordering a website is if they have a proprietary system that you won't be able to leave if you're unhappy with results. So this is a method of locking you in with a service, which might not be that great. If you're unhappy and you want to leave, you won't be able to because it's proprietary, which is the issue. So you definitely want to get a custom built standalone site on your own versus templated. Another common mistake dentists make when ordering a website is they get a low converting website. What this means is it really needs to be specific to generating phone calls or web opt-ins, meaning someone entering the contact form to request an appointment. The majority of conversions, meaning patients online that actually come into the office, is still done over the phone. So it's important that that phone number is apparent and well designed so people can find that easily. They are going to be a little bit lazy. Everyone is, and they're going to go for the first practice they see in some cases, as well as the first phone number they see. So you want to make it really low hanging fruit. So someone who has no idea of a dentist in their area of who to go see and will definitely see yours first. They might have moved there, they might just be trying to switch or for whatever reason, and you want to make it very easy for them to find you. And as a final point on common mistakes made by dentists, you want to have on-page SEO done. I feel this should innately be done when the website is built. So this shouldn't be fixed later or done wrong from the start. This should be when the website is actually developed. Whoever develops it should make it with the intent of ranking on search engines from starting. So that's the proper way to do that.
We were talking about ranking, and you said something that really surprised me. You said that the word dentist, I think the term you used was worthless because it's highly competitive. And as far as traffic went, it just didn't rank very high. How can that be?
So here's why. Dentist is actually valuable in your own area. So for example, dentist in your city. Some agencies might just rank for random keywords. And what I was entailing there was nationally ranking for dentist. Some will actually run your AdWords budget or do SEO just for dentist, which in all reality doesn't mean much because you might get phone calls from a different state from a patient looking. Make sure it's targeted. Just like any form of marketing, it has to be targeted. It has to be people nearby in your zip code, nearby your practice, depending on the size and the population, how far, how many miles will change, but it needs to be targeted locally. Otherwise, it is worthless because no one's going to drive across states just to go to your practice.
So what you're saying is it would have to be something like dentist in Cerritos. If you lived in Cerritos, or dentist in Orange County, it wouldn't be any good to you to get a dentist in Utah.
Dentist in Orange County is a great example because that sounds great, but in reality, that might be someone searching who's 40 minutes away who wouldn't want to come visit you anyways. So you'd want to go more specific because the population is more dense in Orange County. And there's higher dollar paying type of patients that would be closer to you that might only be 10 to 20 minutes away. No one's going to drive 40 minutes. Another example, would be the rural dentists that might have patients come in from 30 miles out. And they're still willing to drive that because the population is more dispersed. So it's custom and different on each campaign, and that has to be vetted each time because you don't want to rank for something that's worthless, that's too abstracted and generic, that won't actually bring people in. So that's very important research to do so that all isn't done for nothing.
Right. It has to be extremely site-specific to be beneficial. The buzzwords and terms for digital marketing that we're talking about, well, they're like an alphabet soup, and they leave me and I'm sure some of our audience totally confused. So I'm going to ask you to explain some of the things I've heard, some of the terms, and maybe you can tell me what they mean. For example, on your website, among the services you offer was something, let me see, I'll quote it, something most dentists and marketers have never even heard of, SBO. What is that?
Google's actually getting more semantic. This has a lot to do with tools on Apple, the Siri, where you actually speak naturally, and the search engine actually wants to respond to that. So SBO is sort of a result of that. So what that means is if your SEO is so great that people are actually searching directly for your brand, Google Auto Suggest will change and suggest your practice's brand name as a result on a competitive keyword. So you might be dentist in Cerritos, as you said, and if your SEO is so good, you've got so much traffic and people looking directly for you because you're a potent brand name, it'll actually change the auto suggest to dentist in Cerritos to Dr. So-and-so DDS, something like that, whatever the actual practice's brand name is, which means when someone searches that main keyword, dentist in Cerritos, it's actually sending all of that traffic to that auto suggest, which is about 70% of that traffic. Now that's complex, but what that really means is they're creating a fork in the road, and all of those people searching for that main keyword are seeing your brand name and going right to you.
Wow, that would be so wonderful, wouldn't it, if you were that doctor in Cerritos? Also, you made a statement that kind of intrigued me. It was something about how Google's acceptance of SEO, that's search engine optimization, said a lot about your methods. What methods are they talking about?
So SEO has drastically changed every few years for a long time now. It's gone from where you could be spammy, and basically it was a volume game. The more keywords and the more things you did, you would rank higher. Now it's completely changed to volume doesn't have a lot to do with it. It's all about quality. And what that means is quality of backlinks, quality of people referring to you, which is sort of like an underwriting of how good of a site or a service you provide. That matters more, as well as some of those things I talked about, like the anchor text and other things like specifics to your industry. So if a lot of high authority dental sites would be connecting to you through backlinks, that would mean you're worth more to Google's eyes. And so what I was getting at was our methods are so natural that we can't really ever be hurt, and we haven't ever gotten a penalty on Google, because if what you're really doing on SEO these days is really being an amazing marketer, you're reaching out and growing the presence of the practice is what you're really doing. There is no hack or cheat or short path you can take on running a software and getting some keyword stuffed or something like that. There's nothing you can really do like that anymore. It has to be actually building the marketing presence of the client. And by doing that, you'll get long-term success and you'll never be penalized. So it's the long-term game for years ranking online and for years getting all of that prospective patients through your site. That's how we go about it, like an investment. It needs to be grown organically and powerfully, and from that you reap the benefits.
I see. So in the past, there was ways for you to get on Google, and maybe with some kind of trick, you could say the same word over and over and over and over again. It would give you like a vote, in a sense, for your website. Is that what you mean? And now they've corrected that, so that doesn't happen anymore?
No one really has a magic trick anymore. There are things, but they might be temporary, where you could rank a site and it'll go for a week or two and then get penalized. So nothing like that ever works in the long run, and you're going to hurt yourself. And you don't want to do that. You want to build natural, high authority, low risk in order to rank and achieve the results you want to get with a website.
So you're looking for something extremely genuine versus tricks.
Google's one of the smartest companies in the world with the smartest engineers and computer scientists. And frankly, any hacker trick you might have will get found and will get squashed quickly, and your domain will basically get blacklisted or hurt.
Another term that I've heard bantered about, and I'm not sure what it means, is it's internal marketing packages. What are they and how do they work?
Packages greatly vary between agencies. Someone might say that they do pay-per-click only. Someone might be really social media focused. So there's different ways to go about it, and different agencies do it in different styles. We typically go as a standard package, right, for SEO and pay-per-click both, because right away it starts driving in more patients and it's highly targeted. So by doing that, you can actually get people to call in and set appointments right away. We feel that's the greatest mover of the ticker, if you will, actually moves the bottom line, brings people in, and so you can start out right away with a return on your investment versus going a long time having invested thousands of dollars into marketing and your online campaign and not getting patients and returns, which means you're in the hole. So we want to get returns right away so you can pay off your site and your whole marketing campaign right away. That's why we recommend those. AdWords, for example, can be started as soon as around 48 hours from starting. We go and manually create the campaign. So we've seen it where after that, maybe an implant case comes in within 24 hours, I believe, of running on AdWords, which meant 72 hours after beginning with the agency, someone already had a positive ROI on marketing because of that implant case already covered for all of the investment and beyond. You look at internet marketing as an investment versus a cost, and you can do extremely well as a practice.
Okay, Michael, I've heard the term empirical agency. What is an empirical agency, and what should the audience know about how that works?
So that's simply an agency that uses real metrics and empirical facts to back up what they're doing. So instead of some salesperson closes you on the phone, gets you on a contract for a year or two, and then you begin getting SEO, and you get sort of a templated report back. You don't really see the real conversions, the real phone calls, the real opt-ins. You don't really know what's going on. Because of that, that's dangerous because it's not transparent. And if it's not working, you don't even know. So it's silently failing. So you want to use someone that uses actually tracking on the website, as well as the most important, they use dynamic call tracking. This is a hot swapped phone number that goes on your site, which uniquely tracks where that person came from, as well as records the phone call. And by doing this, you can see exactly where a patient came from. It's verified the agency gathered that patient, and then you see they actually came in and got dental services from you. That's empirical. It actually shows the whole flow of coming from a public place online to your site, to calling in, to coming in and actually receiving services. That's powerful, and that's exactly how it should be done in a successful campaign.
So what you're saying is you're actually getting a report that is real time. It's real information about your specific practice. It's not some canned report that they send out to everybody and they tweak it a little. Is that what you're saying?
The report not only should have the call tracking metrics that actually shows what happened through the phones, it should show what happened through the website, as well as show your rankings report. It should show how you went up or down in the search engine for all of the keywords you're going after. So it'll actually show if it's a great agency and empirical that, oh, you went from page 2, third position, so you might have been around 13th or something like that, depending. And it went from there to page 1, maybe the bottom of page 1 now in a few weeks, so you're on 8, and actually shows you went +5, versus a report that says, hey, we did SEO, but doesn't really go into what that means. It just says we optimized your site, etc. Well, what does that mean? How many people called in? How many people became patients? And what were my rankings changing? If you don't see that, it's sort of in the air. You don't really know what's going on.
Yeah, and you can't decide how to improve your site if you don't know where you're failing, right?
That would be like I go to get a cleaning and I don't get an x-ray on my teeth. The dentist would have no idea what's going on. So you definitely want to have that done.
Michael, let's talk a little bit about conversions. When you say you track conversions, do you mean you can track how many looky-loos are turning into dental production, or does conversion mean something else?
Conversions, we mean actual new patients is what we really mean. And that's the only thing we can't verify, obviously, because we're not in the actual office. So we can verify someone came in for an appointment. That's how far we can go. Someone actually came in, set up an appointment. Now, we don't know, obviously, did they show up on time and did they receive the service? Because obviously we don't integrate with that. But we can show the looky-loos. We can show from there who actually called, who actually submitted the form on the website and booked an appointment. And from there, we can see all of that. And that we can correlate to what was done by the marketing campaign. So another thing is we segment different phone numbers as tracking. And by doing that, it actually shows, was it an AdWords patient that came in versus organic SEO versus maybe Google local versus another number. So we can actually segment it that way and show which is actually converting best. So we can say, oh, you received 8 patients from SEO and 5 or 6 from AdWords. So we got you 13 or 14 patients, which might have netted around, well, on your side, you verified that it was around 11,000 in new patient billings. So you had an ROI of 480 something %, something like that. And that's a real conversation and an example, basically, of what would happen.
And that's very powerful for the dentist, too, because he can look at that and say, okay, we had 15 people who called on the telephone and 14 of them came in and we only did dentistry on 8. Then he can look at his own production and see where he needs to improve, too. So it has a lot of benefits, really.
It also shines a light on the front staff. It shines a light on what people want, what services are they more in demand for. So it really opens the transparency versus just even the internet marketing campaign. That alone is actually extremely high value, even if you're not running a campaign, to have the dynamic call tracking, just to see exactly what's going on with your practice and its marketing.
Our audience, and I include myself, are mostly non-geeks. We're not like the folks that work at Crawford and O'Brien. So much of the lingo on the web, is still so foreign to us. And I really admire people who understand the new technologies and how the internet works. But just as you don't know dental jargon and probably don't care to learn, what it comes down to is trust. How do we know who to trust?
You really want to look for a few things. One of my biggest advice is when you hire an agency, I would highly recommend they don't have a locking contract or a timed contract, because that is indicative, unfortunately, of someone who's really trying to get that to happen regardless of quality. So if they want to sign you up for 12 months or 24 months or 6 months, but they won't let you leave the contract, and even if you leave, you have to pay the rest of the contract, that might not necessarily be a good idea. At Crawford and O'Brien, we actually don't have time contracts. It's month to month. And we do that for that reason, because you shouldn't unnecessarily raise the risk for yourself in an already risky thing. Don't arbitrarily raise risk more than you have to. So go with someone that's going to work month to month, whoever that may be, versus hiring someone that'll actually say, too bad, you signed the contract. It's several thousand a month for 12 months. Even if you quit, you're going to have to pay the other 9 months, even though we're not doing anything that actually brings real patients in. So that's one recommendation. And then the other would be, obviously, using the call tracking and being very metric minded. So they're actually backing up what they're doing with real evidence, real screenshots of traffic changing and appreciating, real screenshots of patients appreciating. And then, of course, you can back that up with your own accounts of the patient coming in. So it's complete transparency and trust that's established by doing that.
When you work month to month, you got to do good. You have to perform every month or they won't stick around. So that's powerful. That says a lot about the kind of service you have, because you're not afraid they'll leave because you are going to do what you said you do. I like that. I like that a lot. Our company, Thomas & Fees Accountancy Corporation, we're a CPA firm. So we're always looking at the return on investment, like you mentioned, the ROI. Web design is not cheap. On your website, you said a couple of things that really set you apart from your competitors. And we've already talked about one, the fact that dentists should look for companies with no lock-in contracts. But the second claim you made had to do with provable results. How can you prove the website is performing well? And what kind of ROI can our dentists expect?
Okay, so the provability goes back into the empirical definitely get the call tracking, have tracking on the website, and segment it so you can show where people came from. That way you can actually say, nah, it wasn't from those postcards, it wasn't from that, it was from the site. This number is only here on AdWords. That's where that patient was from. And so by doing that, it's very apparent. As for the return on investment, typical ROI on campaigns we've run are minimum in the month only, not lifetime, 400%. So what that means is if someone spends anywhere from, let's just use the number 2,000, then at 400%, they'd be getting around 10,000 in revenue and billings of patients per month from that 2,000 investment into marketing. So that 2,000 is creating 10,000 of revenue each and every month. Now that does not include lifetime. That would be a higher return, because if someone comes back multiple times, twice a year for their cleanings, plus any sort of things they might need beyond that as services, obviously the return is even higher. For month on month only, it's around 400%. We've seen higher, and in a higher income area as well as a denser population area, it gets much higher as well. We can see 600 to 1,000% return in an alpha city in a very dense, high income area. And again, that's month on month, not lifetime. This gets really exponential when you're getting 500 to 800% return, and then people are saying is lifetime because you're an amazing practice. Well, guess what? You're getting over 1,000% return on investment, which just blows anything out of the water in regards to analog marketing. Anything that might be traditionally done, like a radio buy or a TV buy, will probably have a lot less results and not be residual.
You've given us some terrific ideas on what to look for in an agency. But is there anything a dentist could do today, besides hiring an agency, well, that would be free and would increase their effectiveness online as well as SEO?
So actually, as gratitude for being on your interview with Thomas and Fees, we're actually giving something away, which is a review template. So to go and answer your question, the best thing you can do without hiring anyone or spending any money is get more online reviews. An example would be, as we've all heard of, is Yelp. So Yelp or Google Plus reviews. Actually having patients in your practice, hand them this template after they've had a very pleasurable experience at your practice and they've had a procedure done, they'll go and leave a 5-star review. This provides SEO value, as well as all the traffic that is already going to Yelp and searching for a new dentist will see your great reviews and your 5 stars and actually end up calling you. High reality of that occurring. So for no investment, no capital, simply taking the time to have people leave reviews with a template, you can actually raise the SEO as well as the amount of conversions coming through Yelp or Google+. People just searching on Yelp for a dentist will see, because you've gotten these great reviews, that you're a great dentist and they want to try you out. And they'll be sold on that versus even seeing your website in some cases. Get reviews, use the template we provide, and have people after a great experience go and leave a 5-star review. And by doing this, you'll actually increase new patient flow without even getting SEO or pay-per-click or any sort of investment of money into an agency. The link for that would be crawfordandO'Brien.com/review-template. So review-template on crawfordandO'Brien.com. You can go there, input your information, and by doing that, you'll get a free download, completely free, no money on any side, no obligation or anything. And you can print that out and hand it out to patients with your Yelp and Google Plus link and get those reviews.
My last question, Michael, has to do with the internet and the future. You said that according to Google, 97% of people look on the internet for business. I find that hard to believe. Is that really true? And if it is, what can we expect in the future, and how can we tap into what is coming next?
According to the study, yes, that is true. We didn't conduct the study, and it is an astounding number, because out of 100 people, that's 97 actually using their phone or their computer to go and buy someone. That is just astounding, because that's almost every person possible. But yes, the internet is a sharp paradigm shift, and the majority of people are actually using that for everything in their lives. And that really comes down to ordering dental services. They might not know a dentist or have a friend that referred them, and people are going to Google. They're going towards what they see on there. They're looking at the reviews on Yelp. They're looking at the website. They're seeing if it feels comfortable, and they're calling in. And so it's very important to have that internet presence in this new age to do that. And that changes everything on all fronts, because let's say more corporate dental chains are coming into your city. They will have internet marketing budgets and campaigns, as well as other dentists besides yourself. So you really need to get this right, or your whole presence as a practice won't really be that potent. The good news is not many practices are actually getting the online marketing correct and doing it effectively. And so there's arbitrage here, where if you do this properly and you really rank and have a potent website, you can really capitalize within your local area and become the dominant practice online, receiving the majority of that inbound patients looking for dental services.
What you're saying is the future is great if they get on the internet.
It's only going to appreciate the investment now. Not only will you appreciate as your presence now, but the amount of people using the internet is only going up to find dental services. So on both fronts, the volume of people searching as well as your own presence appreciating, both of those going up. This is a short, medium, and long-term investment for going on the internet.
Thank you, Michael, so much for joining us today. You gave the audience some terrific and timely information and so much to think about.
I appreciate it. Thanks a lot for the opportunity, and to Thomas and Fees, Paula. Thanks a lot.
You're sure welcome, and I hope everyone will get on your site and look for that free website evaluation and also for that useful template. This is Paula Thomas for Thomas and Fees saying business is great, and we're looking for more.